It all started when my father got a job as an assistant principal at a private high school in the town of Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Along with the job came a free house, just 3 blocks from the school. My family quickly moved to our new place. I was 15 at the time, incredibly excited for a new life. The house my dad was given was much grander than we had imagined. My mom kept raving about the spacious kitchen and the living room with its brick fireplace, but everything began from the very first day. I felt like something was off with how people in the neighborhood behaved. They still cheerfully greeted us, but their eyes avoided direct contact. My first week at the new school, I tried to fit in. All my classmates welcomed me when the teacher introduced me, but during breaks, they kept their distance. Until I met Grace. "You're the new assistant principal's son, aren't you?" "I'm Grace. Welcome to Rhode Island," Grace asked, her voice gentle. Everything became easier with Grace by my side. She showed me everything about this small town, helping me get used to the new environment faster. Grace asked me how it felt to move to a new city. She listened very carefully when I spoke. "Can I come over to your house?" Grace's naturalness and initiative surprised me, but I was also very happy. I immediately agreed. Grace came to my house one afternoon. I saw her through my bedroom window. I was about to call out loudly, but then I felt a little curious about Grace's demeanor. She stood in front of the door for quite a while, observing the entire house before ringing the doorbell. When I opened the door, Grace didn't step inside right away. Instead, she looked at the space within with a distant expression. "Which room are you in?" Grace asked as we walked in. "The corner room on the second floor," I replied. Grace nodded. "So, you're in the same spot as he was?" I looked at her blankly, not understanding what Grace meant. She smiled slightly, then walked straight upstairs. I followed, feeling a bit confused. Even more surprising, Grace seemed to know the house very well. She pointed to the corner of my room and said, "Lisa's bed was here, and her desk was next to the window. Before there used to be a small bathroom next to Lisa's room too." "Grace, what are you talking about? Who's Lisa?" "She was my best friend. Lisa's family used to live here, but not in this house." Grace looked around the room with sad eyes. "Where is Lisa now?" I asked. "She died." The answer shocked me quite a bit. Grace said it again, her tone very calm. "A big fire happened. She and her 2 younger brothers didn't make it." A chill ran down my spine. 2 years ago. This house was owned by the previous assistant principal, the one your dad is replacing. After the fire, there were many rumors that the spirits of the former residents still haunted the house. People in town often avoided this place. Children weren't allowed to go near it. Now I understood why everyone had been acting so strangely towards my family. We were living in a house built on the foundation of a tragedy. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Lisa and her 2 younger brothers. They had died right in this room. I felt the air was colder than usual. "But that's only half of the truth," Grace said, looking at me for a long time, then said something that chilled me to the bone. Those words echoed in my head for days afterward. I begged Grace to tell me the whole truth. Grace hesitated for quite a while before she began. "Mr. Harrison was the assistant principal before your father. He had 3 children, Lisa, who was my age and yours, Mark, 10, and Danny, 8. Their family lived in that house for over 10 years. There was a student named Ryan Brooks. He was a troubled kid from a family with many problems. Mr. Harrison often kept Ryan after school, supposedly for tutoring. But what happened wasn't normal tutoring. Mr. Harrison had been abusing Ryan for months. Lisa, Mr. Harrison's eldest daughter, knew about this but didn't dare to speak up. Ryan cried for help. He told his homeroom teacher, even wrote letters to the school board, but no one believed him. Mr. Harrison was a respected, reputable man in town, and Ryan was just a troubled child from a broken home. One afternoon, Ryan couldn't take it anymore. He took his father's pistol and went to Mr. Harrison's house. In his private office, Ryan shot and killed Mr. Harrison. Ryan then set the house on fire to erase all traces, and all 5 members of Mr. Harrison's family perished. Ryan left a long confession letter detailing the abuse and why he had to do it, but it was kept secret to protect the school's reputation. Grace and I went to see my father to tell him everything. Dad listened and was lost in thought for many days afterward. He didn't ask again, nor did he express any doubt. About a month later, Dad announced our family would be leaving. Dad had other plans and wouldn't be working in education anymore. He placed a hand on my shoulder and smiled gently. I didn't ask anything further. Not because I understood, but because at that time, I chose to follow my dad. I chose to leave instead of facing any other horrible truth. Later, I understood. Dad stayed silent because he struggled with a choice, a comfortable life or a peaceful one. If our family had stayed there, the whispers and rumors would have continued. We couldn't live normally after knowing all the truth. My family moved away. Grace's family did too. Everything would truly end. The tragedy had taken too many lives. They needed to rest in peace. But I still keep the photo Grace gave me. Every time I see it, I think of Grace, my friend who endured that sorrow alone. I decided to tell this story because I understand that sometimes the truth needs to be told, even if it's too late. It can't change anything, just for the person carrying it to feel lighter. There are stories you want to forget, but they haunt you even more. I've tried to bury the memory of that brown-haired girl for the past 13 years, but I can't. I'm always regretful and tormented because she died due to my cowardice. It happened when I was 12 years old. Lily was my classmate. She always wore old clothes and had a sad demeanor. I learned from other classmates that Lily lived with her mom in a very small house on the outskirts of town. Life was quite difficult because her mom was blind. The beginning of the horrific story was a day I was late for school. As I turned onto the road leading to the school, I saw Mr. Anderson's familiar car parked on the side of the road, its engine still running. Almost every student at my school knew his license plate by heart. It wouldn't have been surprising if I hadn't seen Lily get out of the car. She stumbled, clutching her stomach, then bent over and vomited right by the roadside. "I don't want to repeat this again. Remember that?" Mr. Anderson's voice came from inside the car. Lily didn't answer, just kept her head down and continuously wiped her mouth. I hid behind a large tree, observing everything. Mr. Anderson drove away, leaving Lily standing alone. I didn't understand what was happening. Maybe Lily was sick, and Mr. Anderson was kind enough to take her to the hospital. But he left her here, and Mr. Anderson's voice sounded threatening. Mr. Anderson was a respected figure in the entire town. He had taught and was the coach of the state championship basketball team. Every summer, he organized free summer camps for underprivileged children. That evening, I told my mom what I had seen. My mom was washing dishes, then suddenly stopped. Mom asked me to repeat the story, asking if I was sure I saw Lily get out of Mr. Anderson's car. I nodded, confirming it. Mom quickly grabbed her phone. I sat listening to her talk to someone on the other end of the line. Mom recounted my story. "I think something isn't right. Lily is only 12 years old." I was confused, not understanding anything. But when I asked again, Mom just remained silent and looked at me with a rather serious gaze. 2 days later, a police officer came to my house. He explained he had spoken to Mr. Anderson, and he said Lily had a cold, and he kindly drove her home early. There was nothing unusual. When my mom asked about Lily vomiting, the police officer replied that it was just due to the flu. He tapped his finger on the table, emphasizing that Mr. Anderson was a very reputable person in the community. Without concrete evidence, they couldn't do anything more. I saw the worried look on my mom's face, but she didn't say anything more. The next day at school, I went to Lily during lunchtime. She sat alone, looking tired. But when I approached to ask how she was, Lily immediately showed a bewildered attitude, as if she wasn't used to communicating. When I mentioned seeing her with Mr. Anderson the day before, Lily immediately cut me off, and there was even panic in her eyes. "Sorry, I have to go." Lily left and I watched her go, and happened to see Mr. Anderson standing by the cafeteria doorway, looking directly at me with a cold gaze. After school, Mr. Anderson called me over. He commented that I was a good student, but sometimes excessive curiosity could cause trouble for others. Lily was going through a difficult time with her family situation, and he didn't want to see me bothering her anymore. Mr. Anderson placed his hand on my shoulder and squeezed gently. He warned that if he saw me continue to bother Lily, my grades would be affected, and he might have to call my parents. I kept my head down, replying obediently. From then on, I no longer talked to Lily. Every time I saw her, I would turn my face away because I remembered Mr. Anderson's gaze and voice that day. Sometime later, Lily started missing school frequently. When she was at school, she looked thin and tired. I noticed she often ran outside during class to vomit. Then Lily disappeared. That day, Mr. Anderson announced she was gravely ill. But for the next few days, Lily still didn't come to school. Then one day, the news of Lily's disappearance exploded throughout the town. The police searched for 3 days, and they found Lily at the edge of the forest, about 10 miles from town. Her body lay at the bottom of a cliff, with broken ribs and severe head trauma. Lily's sudden death shocked the entire town. Another horrifying piece of news was that they discovered Lily was 8 weeks pregnant during the autopsy. The police concluded that Lily fell from the cliff, possibly due to an accident. As for the baby she was carrying, they said they would not investigate to ensure Lily's privacy. Mr. Anderson was present at Lily's funeral. He stood in the front row, his face sad, his eyes red. From then on, no one mentioned Lily anymore, and rightly so, because she didn't have a single friend. Mr. Anderson continued teaching for another 5 years, then moved away as soon as he retired. Everyone still remembered him as a dedicated teacher. Now, 13 years after Lily's death, I am old enough to fully understand what happened. I understand why she vomited and was afraid, and I live with torment every day. If I had been braver then, if I had continued to care about Lily instead of turning my back, perhaps Lily would still be alive. But I did nothing. I just stayed silent and let Lily die in loneliness. Every time I visit my hometown, I go to Lily's grave and apologize to her. I once thought a mother's greatest pain was losing a child. But for me, that pain was the beginning of the most terrifying and haunting period of my life. I'm Beth. I live in a small town outside Columbus, Ohio, with my husband Mike and our 17-year-old son, Kevin. Our lives were peaceful until that July night. Around 2 a.m., a terrifying explosion shook the entire house. The pungent smell of smoke filled the bedroom from under the door. I quickly pushed Mike awake. "The house is on fire," I screamed. Mike leapt out of bed, opening the bedroom door. Flames were already high, the wooden staircase ablaze. Thick black smoke billowed, making it hard to breathe. We crawled on the floor, trying to escape through the window. "Kevin! Where's Kevin?" my husband shouted. Kevin's bedroom was at the end of the hallway. I saw Mike rush towards it despite the spreading flames. I wanted to follow, but the smoke was too thick. I couldn't breathe anymore. I had to climb out the window, falling into the bushes below. I stood on the lawn in front of the house, watching the flames devour our home. The wail of fire trucks echoed in the distance. Mike was brought out by rescuers from the second-story window, his hands and face covered in burn marks. But he was alone. Our son was nowhere to be seen. "Kevin! Where's Kevin?" I screamed. Mike shook his head, blood dripping from a wound on his forehead. I couldn't find him. The world seemed to collapse around me. I couldn't accept the reality at that moment. Kevin was still in there, in that fire, waiting for me to save him. I had to go in there. I had to find my son. "Kevin!" I screamed and lunged towards the burning house. Mike and a firefighter had to hold me back. "Let me go." "My son is in there." I struggled and wailed his name. Mike and I embraced, crying loudly. A few hours later, when daylight broke and the fire had completely subsided, only a pile of charred ashes remained. The rescue team searched through the ashes, but found no sign of Kevin's body. I huddled in the back seat of the ambulance, my mind in a strange, blank state. We searched very thoroughly, but the fire was too large, coupled with the high temperature, especially in Kevin's bedroom area. At such temperatures, even bones can be incinerated into ash. The words from a rescue worker made me completely break down. I stared at him. "What do you mean?" "I'm very sorry, Mrs. Coleman. We believe Kevin perished in the fire. Mrs. Coleman, I know this is very hard to accept." "No, no, no, no. My son is not dead. You have to keep looking," I screamed. Mike hugged me, but this pain was inconsolable. The first few weeks were terrible. Mike was hospitalized for his burns. I stayed with my sister, but every day I drove back to the house. I couldn't accept that Kevin was dead. I dug through the ashes, searching for any remnant of my son. I lost 10 pounds in just 3 weeks and had to constantly take sleeping pills and tranquilizers. After a month, when I could finally accept the truth, we started clearing the debris to rebuild the house. I continued searching. In the rubble of Kevin's room, I found his half-burnt desk. The bottom drawer was still partially intact. Inside, I found a notebook that had been slightly burned, but the remaining pages were still legible. My heart pounded as I realized it was Kevin's diary. I clutched the notebook to my chest, the pain making me burst into tears. After a moment, I took a deep breath and opened the diary. February 15th. Today I attended my first meeting. I understand that only we truly grasp the truth and can cleanse the world. I reread that sentence 3 times. My hands trembled as I turned to another page. February 28th. Jake taught me how to make a bomb. He said we had to act soon. The church is the first target. We will cleanse the world of hypocrites. I couldn't breathe. That's where we used to take Kevin for Mass every Sunday. He used to sing in the choir. I continued reading. March 10th. The bomb is ready. I hid it in my bedroom. Tomorrow we will place it at the church. I threw the notebook to the ground and crawled away. I understood what had happened. Could it be? The bomb Kevin made had unexpectedly exploded in his bedroom. He died instantly, and his body was... The explosion caused the fire that consumed the entire house. I wailed from the deepest part of my pain. My son was a terrorist, a member of some extremist cult. I had failed as a mother. I didn't know what my own child was thinking. "What did you find, Beth?" Mike's question startled me. I quickly hid the diary in my bag. Just a few of Kevin's belongings left. I'm picking them up." That night, I burned the diary. I couldn't tell Mike everything. He had suffered enough. We still had to continue our lives in this small town. I would bury and end everything here. Watching the pages burn to ash, carrying Kevin's horrific secret. But I knew this wasn't the end. I had a responsibility to do something to atone for my son. I started volunteering at a youth counseling center. I wanted to help lost children who could easily be drawn into cults like Kevin. Every night I still dream of Kevin, then wake up haunted by how I failed as a mother. Perhaps that's the punishment I have to endure, not just to lose my child, but to live with the truth that my child could have become a murderer. And perhaps that's also the only way for me to find meaning in life again. I will try my best so that no other child will go down the path Kevin took. 2 months ago, to celebrate our 1,000-day anniversary, my girlfriend and I decided to go on a memorable glamping trip. Even though our budget was tight, I managed to book a newly opened glamping site in a remote town. Everything in the pictures looked like paradise until we actually got there. Contrary to its glamorous appearance, the interior was quite disappointing. In the photos, everything looked spotless. But when we stepped inside, the floor was peeling and looked unfinished. The owner claimed he had cleaned it 3 times before our arrival, yet I saw hair and some food wrappers scattered across the floor. Furthermore, when we asked for help lighting the charcoal for our evening BBQ, which we offered to pay extra for, the glamping owner just pointed to a torch lighter and a pile of charcoal already set up in front of the tent. He said, half jokingly, half seriously, "This stuff's easy. You can do it yourselves. Just let me know if you can't." Although his words seemed casual, his attitude was quite cold, as if he was trying to suppress annoyance. I felt uncomfortable, but with my girlfriend there, I didn't want to ruin the mood, so I just kept quiet. That evening, we had our BBQ. We breathed in the mountain air, sipped wine, and felt truly happy sharing that moment together. But the real problem started after we finished dinner and went inside to our room. First, the bathtub wouldn't drain properly. Then, when I lay down to sleep, I heard a loud flapping sound. I checked and realized it was the tent flap on the window, not properly secured, being blown by the wind. We couldn't sleep. It was a truly terrible night. You're probably wondering if I complained to the owner. No, I thought it would just escalate the tension. Instead, I left a 1-star review with honest comments. We cut our trip short to 3 days. Luckily, my girlfriend still felt okay about the trip overall. About 3 weeks later, I received a call from that owner. He apologized, saying he had been busy with the resort's soft opening and was late getting back to us. He claimed to have fixed the previous issues and offered us a complimentary stay voucher. I was grateful for his kindness, but also felt a little regretful for leaving the 1-star review. That weekend, we cleared our schedules and returned to the town. The interior of the resort really had improved, to the point where I wondered if this was even the same place we had stayed before. The owner even personally prepared a BBQ for us. His service was incredibly attentive, to the point of making us feel a bit uneasy. I found it strange. We were the only guests that day. When I asked about it, the owner casually said, "After that 1-star review, we were affected a bit." Seeing his nonchalant expression, I felt embarrassed and said I'd delete my old review and leave a 5-star one. But he replied, "No need anymore." His face, when he said that, was unusually cold. But just a second later, he returned to his friendly demeanor. "Enjoy your meal." I stared blankly as the owner walked away. Around 11 p.m., we were watching TV when we suddenly heard a rustling sound outside the window. I went to check, and a figure abruptly popped up. Both my girlfriend and I jumped and screamed. It turned out to be the owner. "I just wanted to check if you're enjoying the service." "We're enjoying it very much, thank you." "All right, I'll head back to my quarters. Just call if you need anything, okay?" He left, and this time, I started to feel genuinely uneasy. That night, my girlfriend woke up thirsty. I was drifting off to sleep when suddenly, a blood-curdling scream from my girlfriend jolted me awake. Rushing to her side, I was shocked to find a very large snake slithering across the floor. My girlfriend couldn't even stand. Luckily, she wasn't hurt. I quickly pulled her and we ran out, straight to the car. I tried to call the owner to deal with it, but he didn't answer. My girlfriend was completely panicked, crying hysterically, and demanding to go home immediately. I hesitated because I was practically naked, and all our belongings, including my phone, were still in the room. Suddenly, the owner appeared right outside, pressing himself against the car window. "Where are you two off to in such a hurry? You haven't checked out yet, have you?" I quickly opened the car door and jumped out, feeling incredibly frustrated. "Do you know what's in that room? It's a snake." "A snake?" His indifferent attitude truly enraged me. "How can you say that? Send our luggage in the room by express delivery or mail. We're leaving." Suddenly, he pulled out a knife and overpowered me, dragging me back into the glamping tent. My girlfriend stayed in the car, pleading continuously. We struggled fiercely in the room. I was injured on my arm and leg, and the bleeding made me weaker. He screamed like a madman. "You come here, use all sorts of services, and then give me 1 star. Do you know how much damage you caused me? Now you're using this snake as an excuse to make me furious." I was terrified, planning to try and escape or find a place to hide. But he lunged and overpowered me, holding the knife to my throat. His tone shifted abruptly, full of perverse delight. "You'll hit your girlfriend during an argument, and I, the witness, will get hurt trying to break you two up." As he spoke, The crazy man deliberately stabbed himself in his own thigh with the knife in his hand, blood gushing out. Then he turned and shoved the knife into my hand. Now everyone will pity me for being stabbed while trying to intervene. I was completely motionless, utterly stunned. Just then, the snake, which had been slithering on the bed, suddenly bit him with a fatal strike to his neck. He collapsed in pain, screaming loudly, "Snake? Why? Why is it here?" I was too terrified, so I crawled away trying to escape this horrific scene. The sound of police sirens echoed from a distance, and everything was quickly resolved. My girlfriend ran to me and cried uncontrollably. She had called the police. After the police investigation, everything became clear. Initially, I was very sure the owner had released the snake, but that wasn't the case. In reality, it was a hilly area where snakes frequently appeared, and that's precisely why he bought that plot of land for cheap. He's currently in intensive care and will face multiple charges once he recovers. My girlfriend and I were luckily safe. Since then, no matter how bad an experience is, we only leave reviews of 3 stars or higher. So please think very carefully before leaving a 1-star review, everyone.